Alright guys, Bludgeonboy here to take you through the new tools in the LittleBigPlanet 2 1.06 update. There have been some new tools added, and even though move compatibility has been added, these tools don't require move at all. They're actually free tools for everyone to use regardless of whether or not you have PlayStation Move. Now the first new thing you will have here, and it's not mentioned in any of the official lists, is a new thing that the game camera has. It's a camera shake, like on the movie camera. And if we'll turn this up to about 20%, the camera shakes like this. It's sort of like an earthquake shake. It's not like a handheld shake like the movie camera shake is. It's more of an earthquakey earth tremor shake. But yeah, you've got that for all your game cameras now. You don't have it on the movie camera. The movie camera shake is just as it is. And as for the new tools, we'll start off with this one. This is the speed sensor. Now the speed sensor allows you to measure speed on moving objects and output a signal based on that speed. The options for it, you can choose the maximum speed it has to have before it will activate. The direction it'll detect speed in, you can have it detecting speed in all directions, only the Y plane, only the X plane, down only, up only, left only, right only. You can have it local space, yes or no. You can invert the output, and you've got the normal cable and color options there. And what I've done here is I've hooked this up to a piece of hologram that moves with an advanced mover on it. This is set to sense the speed at 5, and this thing will move at 10. And my controlinator here has the advanced mover controlled with the left analog stick, so I can move this around. I can move this sort of slowly and it won't change color. When I move it fast, it does. When it's over 5, when the speed of this object is over 5, it'll change to red, otherwise it'll stay blue. Fairly simple, you can hook that up to anything you want. This one on the right does the same thing, it just gets brighter as you move it faster. Much the same principle, just with a different effect. Over here we have the rotation sensor. Now the rotation sensor is much the same as the speed sensor. It detects when something's being rotated, and it measures rotation via the speed of rotation. That's the rotation speed you need for this sensor to be activated. It can detect rotation in both directions, or just clockwise or counterclockwise. And you can invert the output and your usual color and cable options there. I've got a joystick rotator hooked up to my analog sticks here. This is set to on-off, and that's set to dimmer. So let's give it a whirl. Now see, I can sort of rotate this slowly, nothing happens. If I rotate it really fast, it'll stay red. And as for this one, so the faster I rotate it, the brighter it gets, or the more consistent the lighting is. Fairly simple. That's the rotation sensor. Over here we have the angle sensor. This is a bit more complicated, but it works in much the same way that the rotation sensor does, although it only senses the angle that the particular little sensor is at, and nothing else. Not rotation speed. The trigger angle range, as you can see there, we've got a little white quarter circle, a little quadrant down the bottom, and you can adjust this so that it can go all the way from 0 to 360. That is the angle at which the sensor can deviate from 0. So basically what you do is you take the number that's there, you divide that by 2, and that is how much in either direction, either clockwise or counterclockwise, it can deviate from its normal position with that sensor up. If you rotate the sensor, of course, the little angle range thing will rotate with it. But yeah, you divide that by 2, and that's how much either side it can go before it deactivates. So right now it's activated. And if we get in here, see, I can sort of move it like this and it's not deactivating. But if I move it up here, it deactivates, because it's out of that little angle range thing. It's only down the bottom. If it's up here, it's deactivated. Here I've got it set to dimmer, so the further away it is, the dimmer it gets. And the dimmers were just to show that this has both digital and analog input and output options for you. Over here we have the score giver. This is nothing new, but the score giver now has a multiplier built into it, which is quite handy. It runs off the normal score bubble multiplier, and the options you have are as follows. You can have it so it doesn't contribute to the multiplier at all. So what this means is, say you already had a multiplier of 5 from getting bubbles. If you activated that score giver while you still had a multiplier, that score would not be multiplied when the multiplier finally ran out and your score was multiplied. The score you got from the score giver would not be counted in that multiplication. The multiplier would not apply to this score giver at all. If you have it set to just score, that means that the points you get from the score giver won't increment the multiplier, but any points you get from this score giver will be multiplied when your multiplier is applied to your score. So say, once again, you had a multiplier of 5 and you activated this score giver, when your multiplier is given to you, when your score is actually multiplied, when the timer runs out for your multiplier, the score you got from the score giver is also multiplied. 1 bubble's worth. This is just like getting another bubble's worth. It's like it's incrementing your multiplier by a fifth, basically. Not 0.2, 0.4, but it adds another bubble's worth to the counter for incrementing your multiplier. So it's basically like getting another bubble, but instead of getting however many points a bubble's worth, you get whatever numbers up here. And 1 multiplier's worth, that means basically every time you activate this, your multiplier goes up by 1. Down here we have the multiplier timer, and this sets how long, just using this alone. It only works for these 2 options here, by the way. If you have it to just score or none, it's grayed out. But if you have 1 bubble's worth or 1 multiplier's worth, you can set how long it takes for the multiplier to be applied, or how long you've got to add more score before the time runs out and your multiplier is reset back to 0 when your score is multiplied. You can set that to 0 or up as high as you like. That's what that basically does. Over here we have a piece of light matter, and I'm going to demonstrate a new tool you've been given, the Slice and Dice tool. What this does is allows you to take shapes and cut directly into them as such. Now you've got to select the shape first. You've got to start from an edge. You can start from anywhere on an edge. Let's start here. And I can just place vertices on here, sort of like drawing in a paint program with a straight line tool. And once you press X again, once you're on another edge of the original shape, you'll have cut out a complete shape. And that shape is now glued. They're still glued together. They're still in one sort of item, but they are separate things. See, I can highlight them differently. And to take them out, all you'd have to do is select the shape you want to get. You want to extract, press triangle, change layers, and there you go. You can move that wherever you want. That's basically what that does. Over here we have some create naders, and what I'm going to demonstrate to you here is the new water. It's not really new water, but it's the water has been given some additional properties you can customize to make the water look different. Now you can change the color of the water, you can change the brightness of the water, how sort of vibrant the water is, and the opacity. At 0 the water is translucent, you can see through it. At 100 it's completely opaque and you can't see through it. Now here I've got some different water things set up for you. This is just normal water. This is a more yellow water, a bit darker, a bit more murky, but not much more murky, still pretty translucent. This is very murky, green water, like a toxic sludge kind of thing. And this is pitch black water. This is with no color, and I think the opacity set to 100, brightness set to 0. Over here we have the bounce pads. Now you'll notice that one of them is white and the other one is blue. The white one functions as a normal bounce pad, but this one doesn't. When I jump on it, nothing happens, except when I press X, and it jumps. What this has to do with is this new option that's been added called Trigger Automatically Yes No. The white one is set to yes, and this is the default option for all the bounce pads, and it has been ever since the game has been released. But now that they've added this new Trigger Automatically option, once you set it to no, what this basically means is you have to be on the bounce pad and to have pressed X for it to activate. And it only activates once. Say if I were to jump on this and hold X down, it'll make me jump. But when I come back down, it doesn't make me jump again just because I'm holding the X button. You have to press it again for it to work. So that's how that works. You'll also notice, if you go into the settings, slightly new thing, you'll notice that little box that you've got there. That actually tells you how high the Sackbot or Sackboy will jump. That's more of a visual representation of how high he will jump to make it easier for you to make areas with bounce pads so you know if the Sackboy is going to reach where you want him to jump or not. And over here we've got one of the last things I'm going to show you, the music sequencer, a new option we've got with the music sequencer. Now here I've got just a little drum kit solo here. Now that was in 4x4 time. What they've added is 3x4 time, or triplets is what I've heard them called. You'll see in the top right corner of the screen a different musical icon with 3 little things hanging off it instead of 2. Someone can name it for me. But that's what they've added. They've allowed you to have 3x4 time in your on your music sequencer instruments, and you can have 4x4 and 3x4 at the same time. If you want, you can have them on the same instrument like I've got here. You can have them one after the other. You can have them both at the same time on the same instrument. You can have 4x4 and 3x4 time. You just press down to switch between them. As you can see, the notes that are in the time that we don't have activated at the moment go red, and the ones that are in the time scale that we want are in green as normal. And you can just switch by pressing down on your D-pad. That's how easy it is to switch. And you can have different instruments in 3x4 time, 4x4 time, all over the place. There's no extra options in here about it. But yeah, that's basically how that works. We've also got one last thing. In the gameplay controls, we now have minimum and maximum recommended players. A lot of levels have in the title of the level or the description of the level 1 player only, 1 player recommended, for 2 or more players, whatever. And what they've added is a little thing for you to have that in your level without... You still should put it in your title or your description. It doesn't actually say in the title or description any of this information. But you can set this to 1, 2, 3, or 4. 1, 2, 3, or 4, depending on what your level is, what you want out of your level. Who your level is for, basically. But what will happen is, say my level is set to minimum recommended players 1 and maximum recommended players 2. If I have 1 person in that level, everything's fine. If I have 2 people in that level, everything's fine. But if I add a 3rd person, it'll give you a little warning message, basically, saying that this level is not recommended for 3 people, or something along those lines. It's just a warning message. It doesn't actually prevent players from joining the level if there's too many people. Of course, no more than 4 can join anyway, but it won't prevent people from joining, and it won't prevent people from leaving. It won't prevent the game from starting. It's just a warning message. That's all it is. So that's it. That's all the features that have been added in 1.06. Put them to good use, and I'll catch you guys later.